Now it's time to welcome our next guests, Ed and Cynthia Staton, the authors of the book Mission, Rescue Your Retirement. Now you might remember the Statons from our February episode all about retiring abroad. They've also been in the news lately. They've been featured in a recent article on Market Watch. Ed and Cynthia, thanks for joining us again today.
Dave, thanks for having us back. We're glad to be
Thank you.
here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So you've heard some of our points for living your best in retirement. We talk about having goals, so that you have reason to get out of bed in the morning, working on continuing those relationships in retirement. We talk about staying busy, not having too much free time. So where would you like to start? Which of those things? Maybe let's just start with goals. How have you been able to help people when it comes to goal setting in this brand new chapter of their life? Maybe a chapter where they're not used to setting these types of goals. How have you been able to help people with that so that they have a reason to get out of bed in the morning, so they don't become bored 6 months into retirement?
Well, when you live where we do in a foreign country, it's never boring, that's for sure. There's just so many things to keep you busy, both just trying to get your life established and then to have so many interesting cultural activities that you're not used to from the American culture. It's never boring. We always say if you live in an interesting city abroad and you're bored, you're boring, not the location.
That's right. It's not the city's problem. It's your problem. But riddle me this then. At some point, probably when you were still working, you got this idea, this goal of, perhaps we're going to retire and live abroad. How's this going to look? What motivated you to start to set those types of goals for retirement before retirement?
Well, I think that we're not that unusual in that we always dreamed in retirement that we would be able to travel and kind of chase the weather, and we didn't have all the details nailed down, but it was something that we always wanted to do. Of course, we were kind of forced into early retirement, so we had to do a regroup on that. But here we find ourselves, living in Ecuador, and part of that dream has come true for us.
Yeah, it was ironic that we were casualties of the economic recession in 2008. So like Cynthia said, the idea of living abroad wasn't foreign to us, sorry. But it's manifested in a way that we certainly never envisioned, but it's turned out to be one of the best things that's ever happened in our whole life.
So in the minute or so we have left in this particular segment, what would you say to somebody who maybe isn't as creative as you, maybe not as right-brained, where if I say, what are your goals in retirement? Well, we just want to enjoy retirement, be comfortable, and maybe travel just a little bit. And that's it. They're not creative enough to really put those goals out there the way you were. What words of advice would you give those pre-retirees?
I would actually say before retirement shows up on your doorstep, you need to sit down and think about it. Just like you plan out anything in your life and imagine what it would look like. Particularly if you're a married couple, suddenly you're going to have a lot of time together. So you need to maybe find a purpose to do something that you've just never had time to do in your work world. We know a lot of people here that suddenly they have time to do a lot of volunteer work, and that just gives them so much satisfaction, and it takes up their day.
And it also gives them relationships. You heard our last guest talk about networking and relationships, because you lose relationships when you quit the work environment, or at least you're not seeing people every day. So you're right. Volunteering also allows you to meet new people, which is important. We need to take a quick commercial break. If you stay with us, we'd really appreciate it. And you stay with us too. We'll be back with more right here on the Income Generation in just a minute. And now it's time to welcome back Ed and Cynthia Staton, authors of Mission, Rescue Your Retirement. Again, thanks for sticking around.
Thanks for having us stick around.
Yeah.
Now you were in a pretty nice area. The weather's not terrible in the Atlanta area, but in the winter it does get cold. You retired, you went to Ecuador. So, was part of that rationale to go to a nice climate, the fact that you have more time on your hands, maybe you can be outside more, you could walk more, you could exercise more, you could focus on fitness and not be all cooped up inside?
Well, we developed, when we decided to move abroad, Cynthia, I have to give her all the credit. As we told you, we were in a tough situation financially. And she said, if we're moving to another country, we're going to make a list of everything that's important to us, and we're going to find a place that satisfies all those. Temperate climate was one of those issues. We're what we call Goldilocks people. We don't like it too hot or too cold. As you said, it's not that cold in the South, but it was cold enough for us. And living in Las Vegas for 4 years,
enough heat. Yeah.
We'd had enough heat. So yeah, moving to this climate, people mistakenly think that if you live on the equator, it's got to be hot, and it's all about the altitude. We live at 8,300 feet, so for us it's springtime all the time. If you're at sea level or in the jungle, it's hot all the time.
Well, and you mentioned being outside more. We have a walking lifestyle, and because we don't need a car living in the city, and we're out all the time, and it's really we get our exercise that way without even trying to exercise, because we're always out walking. So climate is a factor, and it certainly was important to us.
Sure. In the 45 seconds we have left in this block, what do you tell people when they ask about working part-time in retirement? I'm not talking about those who are working because they need the income. I'm talking about those who maybe were workaholics, they don't need the income, but just for a sense of fulfillment, for a sense of social interaction. What's your thoughts on that? What do you tell people?
Yeah,
It's a good solution for some people, actually.
Yeah, we know a number of people who you can't get a job here, so to speak. That's going to go to local, but so many people have created little cottage industry kind of businesses that throw off a few $100s a month in income, and even if they don't need it, and that doesn't sound like much in where you live, but a few $100s a month here pays for a lot.
Yeah.
And we need to leave it there for this segment. I really apologize. We need to take a commercial break. And you stay with us too. We'll be back here with more on the income generation in just a moment. Welcome back to the show. I'm David Scranton, and we're here with authors Ed and Cynthia Staton. They have a new program out now called Retirement Reimagined, which is really a revolutionary program for those who are trying to get more out of limited funds at retirement, to get more enjoyment out of retirement, as we said in the show, living your best. Tell us more about the program, please.
Okay, Ed, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, go for it.
We created this program, Dave, to give people an idea of how to become a successful expat. It has 5 sections. The first one is determining what in the world do you want. And we spent a lot of time on that so that people can do the self-assessment that they need to do to figure out where in the world that they're going.
Then the second section is called Where in the World Are You Going? We spotlight 10 different countries, places within those countries. We cover everything from climate, healthcare, how to get a visa. We even have a section giving average flight times and cost of 4 different U.S. cities. And then section 3 is
how to plan and execute a successful scouting trip, which is not like a vacation. You're going to go there, and we give you a lot of assignments to figure out if this is the place you would actually want to live 24/7, 365. And then the 4th section
is getting ready to go. Once you've decided which place you are going to relocate to, as you can imagine, Dave, there's a ton of details that you got to button up before you turn out the lights and lock the door to get on the plane to that place. And we've got all of them covered, because you don't want to get to a foreign country and say, oh, I should have done so-and-so.
Fill in the blank. And then the final section is really helping you get your new life abroad set up, how to assemble your team, even how to make new friends.
So it's nice. So it's nice and interactive. Then it's like workbook. It's interactive. It's designed not just for people to read, and I love that. I love that. So, 30 seconds. Let's say I get excited by this concept of living abroad in retirement. How many years before retirement should I start doing my homework?
Yeah, you want to chime in on that one?
Yeah, I would say give yourself, we pushed really hard. It took us a year from the time we decided to do it to when we actually got on the plane. And a lot of times there's factors in people's lives like selling a business, an aging parent, so forth and so on. Life gets complicated sometimes. So you don't want to wait till the last minute.
Yeah, so,
So 10,
kind of depends on how
10
complicated
seconds,
your
3 years, 5 years?
Oh, I would say at least a year.
At least a year, at least a year. I love it. Sorry to cut you short. We actually need to go at this point. I really appreciate you being back and joining us here on the program. Look forward to hooking up with you again on your next adventures. All right, and you stay with us. We'll be back here with more right here on the Income Generation.